Welcome to Izoni, Thousand Eyes. First opening hand goes, yes, I love it. This is beautiful. We're going to keep on this one. We have two lands in our hand. We have Charcoal Diamond, a little bit of ramp. We have Knight's Whisper. We have two pieces of removal, Pulse and Sage, and a little bit of way to kind of kick our graveyard off with Grapple in the past. And we're playing against the brand new Aurelia, which I'm super excited about. So, should be pretty fun. It's always nice, when you're building a new commander, it's always fun to be able to kind of play against a new commander within the set. I don't know, it's just makes it extra special. Let's go and get this graveyard pop back. There we go. Like that a little bit better. Let's go and lead off with Hissing Quagmire. Yeah, I think that'll work. Yeah. Well, I guess technically, let's go lead off with Woodland Cemetery. That way, if we do draw into another source, we'll put it on line for Charcoal Diamond. And let's go and pass the turn to our opponent. We're playing Izoni, 1009. Undergrowth, whenever Izoni enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 black and green insect creature token for each creature card in your graveyard. Then for a 2-mana activation, sacrifice another creature, you gain 1 life, and draw a card. Playing against Aurelia, Exemplar of Justice, flying and mentor. And then at the beginning of combat on your turn, choose up to 1 target creature you control. Until end of turn, that creature gets +2/+0, gains trample if it's red, and it gains vigilance if it's white. Aurelia is definitely a really unique. See if we get the land drop. Come on, land. Oh, Grizzly Salvage. I like Grizzly Salvage. Let's go get down Hissing Quagmire. That's going to go into play tapped, and we'll kick it back over there. One of the fun things about Aurelia is that, kind of depending on how you want to go with the build, Aurelia can target herself with that ability, and she is red-white, so that's going to give her the opportunity of being for 4/5 with trample, which is actually really good, especially if you're building Aurelia kind of Voltron deck. If I do end up building, not if I end up building Aurelia, but when I do build Aurelia, I will definitely, I think I'm kind of leaning more towards a Voltron build, simply because of that ability. That's always nice. Now, you do have to watch out for stuff like Sword of Feast and Famine, not Feast and Famine, Sword of Fire and Ice. That protection from red will stop that triggered ability, but it's good to keep in mind. All right, so we do draw into Demonic Tutor. Let's go for Grizzly Salvage. I definitely want to make the land drop for the turn. Yeah, just because I'd rather look at the top 5 cards of our library and get a land out of there than to keep our fingers crossed for like a Knight's Whisper or something like that. And actually, that's beautiful. Crater Hoof, Falconrath Noble, and Mazarek into the graveyard. I'll take that. Let's go ahead and grab, since we do kind of have a heavy black hand, let's go ahead and grab a Swamp off of that. The rest of the cards go into the graveyard. It's going to get down Swamp for the turn, and then we'll go and pass the turn to our opponent. Now that we do kind of have a little bit stuff, kind of good stuff in the graveyard, Demonic Tutor on Living Death might be a really good option for us, especially if we're going to be doing a lot of milling. So I think that's what we may end up doing next turn. Hopefully with the land drop, we'll keep our fingers crossed. We can always go for Grapple with the Past, but I don't want to mill. We have different ways to bring stuff out of the graveyard. We stuff like Eternal Witness and I think something else, but I think for the most part, we'll probably end up going for Living Death, and that'll be another way for us to kind of, stop that Aurelia from swinging across, because she will get some pretty good damage coming if we don't keep her in check. Drawn to Reanimate. Okay. You know what? Yeah, I'm okay with. I doubt we're going to hit Living Death off of that, so let's go over Grapple with the Past. If we do hit Living Death into our graveyard, there we go, Kodama. Okay, let's go and bring back Forest. But to say if we did, we can always tutor up Eternal Witness to bring it back. Let's go and get down Forest, and then let's go and Demonic Tutor for Living Death. I want to get that into our hand, and then we can get some other stuff going. Where are you living? There we go. Let's grab that Living Death, and then anything else, we're going to pass the turn to our opponent. So we're looking at Charcoal Diamond for next turn. We still have Pulse, too, so we can actually go for Pulse to take care of Aurelia. We do need to deal with Soul Ring. We can kind of keep our opponent. Once we go for Pulse on Aurelia, that kind of puts us in a spot where we can go for Reclamation Sage on Soul Ring. Just kind of keep that mana in check, hopefully. By us drawing into Reanimate, that's a really good option for us to go for. Let's say that we do simply cast Izoni once we do get to 6 mana. Reanimating on Crater Hoof with a haste option, and at least 3 or 4 creatures on the battlefield is a really good way for you to kind of close the game out, or at least put some pretty good damage on our opponent. But let's see if they're going to go for Imperial Recruiter. And then Magus. Oh no, Magus of the Moon. Oh, excuse me, we still have 2 basics. Okay, that was a little bit of an overreaction. We still have 2 basics, but that's really going to not be too good for us. So at this point right now, we have Crater Hoof, we have Mazarek, we have Falconrath Noble. If we want to go for like kind of, I guess like a more of a control-y style Living Death, we can certainly go for that. But I think at this point, we can always go for Pulse on Magus of the Moon, because it's going to be really hard for us to get down double black and double green with Izoni. Okay, opponent only does have 3 cards in the hand. Let's go ahead and go for Night's Whisper. We could go for Pulse on Magus of the Moon, but even if we don't hit the land drop for the turn, we can still get down Charcoal Diamond. So let's go and go for Night's Whisper, draw 2 cards and lose 2 life. Hopefully we can grab some of our spot removal. Go Gary Thug and then Ghost Quarter. Let's go and get down Ghost Quarter and let's go and get down Charcoal Diamond. Yeah, I like that. We'll get down Charcoal Diamond. That way it kind of opens up our mana just a little bit. It's going to enter the battlefield tapped, and then let's go and pass the turn to our opponent. The only thing that we are really missing right now, if we can somehow get into Entomb, then we can get something like Life from the Loam into the graveyard, and then we can really kind of start dredging that graveyard up to kind of get that moving. But we just need to get a few more creature cards going, and then we'll be in a pretty good position to hopefully get some good creatures on the battlefield. Go for that. The way this deck is set up, if you do not see the deck tech, we have Crater Hoof in here that allows us to, swarm the board with a ton of tokens, swing across the Crater Hoof, which is always fun. But let's say that it allows us to go for that. We can get down a Sack Outlet with Carrion Feeder, and then something like Falconwrath Noble out of the graveyard, and then use the Izoni trigger to get a lot of insect tokens on the battlefield, sacrifice those creatures, and kind of go for a Blood Artist win. So it also kind of keeps on playing. Yeah, so we'll definitely be going for a Living Death pretty soon. Yeah, especially if we don't hit a board wipe, we'll want to be definitely going for a Living Death, because that's gotten enough to where they've only got 2 cards in the hand, and we want to take care of Magus in the Moon too. And we'll be online with Charcoal Diamond also. Okay, Aurelia's going to give the additional bonus to Imperial Recruiter. And that will put us down to 8, and that will be 12 total commander damage. Let's see what we draw into. Drawn to Eternal Witness, which is actually really good. Let's go and go for that Living Death. Yeah, I think that's good. So we go for Living Death. That's going to be double black off Charcoal Diamond. Okay, we're going to get that Crater Hoof trigger, which is not too good when it's a Crater Hoof for a party of 3, but it still gets us some damage gun. Let's go ahead and swing across for 8. It's always nice seeing Falconwrath Noble sitting at a 5/5. Let's go and swing across for 8. That's going to put our opponent down to 22. And then we'll go ahead and get down. I guess if we want to. Man, that's a real risky line of play. Let's see. We've got Reanimate. Or if we want to, we can go for Imperial Recruiter. Yeah, that's too risky. We can't go for Imperial Recruiter to kind of search up a library creature card if we wanted to. Put it into your hand. Do we need something that bad? We're looking at Zulaport Cutthroat, Golgari Thug, something like Grim Flayer that we'd only be able to get down next turn. I guess technically if you wanted to go for Blood Artist, we could. But that's going to be us getting some life. Now, let's just go and pass it. Let's go and get down Carrion Feeder. I like that. We have a Sack Outlet. We have Blood Artist. Yeah, we're going to get cute with Reanimating. I don't think that's exactly what we want to be doing. So let's just go and pass the turn to our opponent. We are playing against a red burn deck. I mean, a Boros deck that might have some burn in there, so that's something we should kind of play around. But we do have Reanimate. That way if something does kind of, something good happens, we can get that going. Now, as far as what our opponent can do, we do have Pulse at this point right now. Unfortunately, with Izoni, we had to use that Living Death in a little bit more of a proactive way to kind of take care of our opponent's board state. So we don't really have that many insect tokens to get going. But hopefully we are looking at, in the neighborhood of about 10 damage coming across, puts them down to 12. And with the Sack Outlet, you can get some pretty good stuff going. If we are worried about our opponent building up a really nice board state, we can Eternal Witness onto something out of our graveyard if we want to put some pressure on that. But we'll see exactly what we're going to grab. Something like Parallel Elves might work out pretty well. Opponent's going to get down to Johnny. Let's see what they're going to go for with the Johnny activation. And then Harsh Mentor, which is whenever opponent activates the ability of an artifact, creature, or land that is... Ooh, okay. That will be a little bit of a bummer. So with a Johnny, 3 damage to target and you gain 3 life. Tap target permanent doesn't untap. Yeah, we'll see how they decide to go for that. Because if they go for the -2, that puts it to where Mazarek does have flying. And then whenever we sacrifice a permanent, we're going to be able to put a +1 counter on each creature that we control. Now, we will be taking a little bit of damage from Harsh Mentor. But we should be able to hopefully kind of negate some of that damage with Falconwrath Noble. Or at least kind of minimize the risk of that. And they're going to tap down Crater Hoof with the Johnny. Okay, and that does leave 1 card in the hand. So at this point right now, I think I like going for Pulse on Harsh Mentor. That's going to keep us open on our Sack Outlet. But let's see what we draw into. Drawn to Elves of Deep Shadow. Let's go for Pulse on Harshminter. That's going to allow us to gain a life, and then they're going to lose a life. That's going to put us at 8. If we sacrifice Crater Hoof, that might be enough now that I think about it. So we sacrifice Crater Hoof. That's going to be a +1 counter. Crater Hoof comes back out. If not, we're going to be doing a lot of damage. Yeah, let's do that. Let's go and sacrifice Crater Hoof. That's going to put a +1 counter on each creature that we control. And then let's go and go for Reanimate on Crater Hoof. All right, yeah, that's going to be... Okay, there we go. Sorry, in my head, I was like, I think we've got it. Yeah, let's go and swing with all the creatures, swing at our opponent. That's going to be 16. That's going to be more than enough to get it done. They only have one card left in the hand. And there we go. You can see where you can get a good graveyard going with Izoni. Unfortunately, we couldn't take advantage of her insect tokens, and also a good game to our opponent. If you see this video, when the game ends, I cannot pull up the chat to say good game. So definitely a good game. There was a lot of back and forth. But we did have Living Death, and we had to use it in a little bit more of a proactive way to kind of clean up the board state. But you can see where we got it done. And using the Aristocrats, we were able to sacrifice Crater Hoof, get it into the graveyard, have it come back out, and get our opponent down all the way to -10. So if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.